Oh, hi everyone. Hey, for folks who like peace and freedom, I've got some good news. It comes out of North Carolina, where a few years ago, the North Carolina Assembly opened their formerly government-dominated education system to a little bit more school choice. And a new report indicates that, guess what? The government-run system is seeing dropping attendance while the alternatives are flourishing. It is good news. In a report that would only be surprising to people unfamiliar with peace and free markets, T. Quing Hui writes for the Charlotte News Observer that in the years following a 2010 Republican-led school choice revolution, government-run school attendance is waning in North Carolina while alternatives are gaining. Writes Hui, quote, "For the third year in a row, enrollment has fallen in North Carolina's traditional public schools, even as the number of students continues to rise in charter schools, private schools, and homeschools. The percentage of the state's 1.8 million students attending traditional public schools has dropped to 80.8% and is continuing to fall rapidly," end quote. Now, while this mix of vouchers, scholarships, and ease of restrictions on homeschoolers is not a complete lift of the political ties that bind education competition, it is an improvement that's seeing parents respond, and it's freaking out the establishment. People like Chris Nordstrom.
We're not trying hard enough to fund our public schools.
A consultant for the North Carolina Justice Center's Education and Law Project. Mr. Nordstrom says that these choice initiatives are, quote, dismantling public schools, end quote. These are things that he calls a public good.
I think there's been a tendency these last 7 years to pretend that school choice is really a substitute for delivering these services.
But Mr. Nordstrom, your use of that term public good is problematic. You see, it's impossible to say that anything publicly funded is good because valuation is subjective, and good has to be determined by individuals freely choosing to pay for something. And that is not something that happens in the tax-funded government school systems that continually see poor results and frustrated parents. In fact, it's something that in American history we didn't start seeing until the late 1800s. As great scholar Samuel Blumenfeld has pointed out, prior to the late 1800s, the American school systems were mostly private, and the results were fantastic.
Curriculum in the schools of the time was sustaining the system we had. It was sustaining individualism. It was sustaining belief in God. It was sustaining the idea of private property.
So perhaps the education system has failed Mr. Nordstrom, and it might actually help some of these kids who get into alternatives in North Carolina. Great news, and something to watch as we observe economics in action, or close to it, in a system that is being slightly freed in North Carolina. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for MRC TV. I'm Gardner Goldsmith.